This is Professor Michael Chapman. I'm one of the most experienced IVF doctors in Australia. I believe that an important part that I can contribute is to educate patients in relation to fertility, infertility, and all that involves. These series of podcasts help to educate you. I hope they are helpful to you. If you wish to know more, however, I'm more than happy to have you contact me via email, which is profmchapman@gmail.com, or make an appointment to see me on 9138 4222. One of the things that is very topical, and everybody asks the question, or our reception staff deal with this many times a day, is patients ringing up and saying, how much is it going to cost? There's a recent news article around Australia, I think it was only 3 days ago, which had attempted to show comparative prices across all the IVF services in Australia. There are clearly two leagues. Some of us talk about the business class with Qantas versus that there is a difference in service. There is a difference in the level of things that can be done in the cheaper services. They don't do genetic testing, they don't do donor work, they may not work at weekends because of staffing costs. They're trying to cut corners, and so the Jetstar is what there is out there, and it is cheaper, there is no question of that, but it doesn't necessarily bring you the result that you want, particularly if you've got complicated problems. In the premium service, what I call the business class Qantas, costs are high. And the reasons for those costs being high is a number of issues that have to take place. It's not just one doctor doing an IVF cycle. That's what Medicare thinks what happens, but what they don't realise is behind every doctor, there's probably, in any one cycle, there are probably 10 other people involved in getting your pregnancy. So obviously there's the front of house staff, there's obviously the finance people behind there, there's obviously, and most importantly, the nursing team. And in a good service, and Life Fertility Sydney, we actually pride ourselves on this. Patients get nurse interactions on a regular basis to keep them informed of what's going on and to help them through their cycle. That costs money. A fertility nurse is costing somewhere between $80,000 and $120,000, depending on their levels of experience. So that adds significantly to the cost. And then beyond that, obviously, is the laboratory. To make a laboratory run, we need senior scientists as well as juniors. And in your cycle of IVF, a number of them will be involved for many, many hours. So again, there's substantial cost in building the team that creates the embryos. The article this week was focusing on the fact that there'd been some rises in costs. And in fact, I was on the radio this morning justifying that. Things that we've suffered at Life Fertility Sydney have been a 5% increase in the costs of the bits and pieces that are used in the laboratory, the test tubes, the culture medium. Add 5% to $1,000, and that means per patient, that means another $50 immediately on the bill for us, and then obviously passing that on to the patient. Last year there was the increase in superannuation from 11% to 12%, and if you've got a staff bill of $2 million, that 1% is not an insignificant amount of money. And so it goes on. So genetic testing people pushed up their prices by 10%. So it's not surprising that IVF is an expensive process. We're very lucky in Australia in that the government subsidises through Medicare a significant amount of that money. So compared with the rest of the world, we're actually reasonably well off. Around the world, there are some countries that do 3 free cycles. That's unusual. But the vast majority, like the United States, the United Kingdom, there is no subsidy. And you're talking about out-of-pocket substantially higher than we have in Australia. So when you sit down and you can I afford it? I mean, one of the statements I would make you think about is that in an IVF cycle, we're going to give you at least a 35 to 40% chance of a pregnancy. If you're under 40, that cycle, certainly with us, would cost you out of pocket $6,000 or $7,000. Once that baby is born, according to ChatGPT, and this morning when I asked the question, that child is going to cost you somewhere on average 20 to 30,000 Australian dollars in its first year of life. So the IVF step is actually not the massive one. You've got lots coming if you're taking on the notion of having that wonderful child. So we're always prepared to talk about how much things cost, but in the premium group, in the business class group, clinic sits in the bottom 10% in terms of affordability. So, because we do believe that affordability is important. It's still expensive, but some are more expensive than us, and really the results they produce are no better.
And don't forget that you can access all the previous episodes by going to our website www.theivfjourney.com and select IVF Journey podcast from the navigation menu.